Just in the past 9 months, this entrepreneur and flow state expert has gained over 200,000 subscribers. And with this said, he's clearly reshaping the landscape of YouTube productivity and is more likely to take it over. Now that a few people already quit the video, here's what you will extract from it. Discovering how he and his team harness power of supply and demand, and including the reason why even Rian started a YouTube channel. And I want you to get comfortable, get a headset, earphones, and also I promise you a good experience.
Came across Stephen Kotler, who worked for him for free for years, and then had the opportunity.
Alright, picture this. Flow Research Collective, an innovative company, growing a sales team, getting on board exceptional people, doing marketing on Facebook ads. Bear in mind, there's a super duper detail about Stephen Kotler I haven't explicitly told you later. No, but let's focus on the journey for now. As time went on, ad costs started to rise, so profitability started to decrease, and scaling became harder. Now, to make it crystal clear, I don't have an inside scoop on the company's financials, but what I do have is some really great insights from Andrew Kirby. He's an expert who helped Alex Hormozy, Mr. Beast, and other experts in their fields with YouTube. But for Rian, he was more special to him because of a crucial thing he accomplished in the past, so more on it later. Because what we need to understand for now is this. Profitability started to decrease. Why? In the context of digital advertising, it's common to see linear results. The more you invest in ads, you see a proportional increase in revenue.
If we picked berries twice as fast, we get twice as many berries. Well, linear thinking is intuitive because it follows a predictable pattern. Cause and effect have a direct, proportional relationship. We naturally assume that if we put in twice the effort, we'll get twice the result.
However, there's often a point of diminishing returns where further investment doesn't yield the same amount of revenue or profitability. So the next bold focus was directed towards YouTube organic marketing, which is the opposite of ads because it's exponential. In the first stages, you might not see any significant results.
Exponential curves start slow. They appear to have negligible growth.
Because organic marketing takes really time, and keeping people's attention nowadays is really hard. Like, I don't know how many of you are still watching. I don't know. However, when content starts to pick up momentum and when the brand gains recognition, the rate of return can increase dramatically.
Then, suddenly they surge upwards, growing at an increasingly rapid rate, like a snowball rolling down a hill.
This is because organic marketing compounds over time, leading to an exponential growth in the long run.
You take a hit on short-term results, you have to let go of some short-term results to build the leverage that are going to get you way bigger long-term results.
Now, why YouTube specifically, you might ask? Come on. You don't use TikTok and Instagram to learn about stuff, do you? Actually, my mom uses Instagram to learn. Hello. You may say, what about text? Well, already the team repurposes the shorts there. And bear in mind, they really need a dedicated long-form audience. Why? Just tell me, how would you sell a $7,000 program? You won't find it on their website. How did I know it? You have to have a Zoom meeting with one of the employees to know the price. But anyways, and let's open just a little window. As we see, this organic social media marketing, especially for me, it's YouTube, is becoming more and more crucial in today's attention economy. Pause for a second. Let's say you sleep 8 hours, so you're awake for 16 hours. That's a lot of time. But how much attention do you have? Before we continue, I have something very beneficial and interesting, which is the template I use for creating an idea project and bringing it to life. It's something that has changed and developed over time for more than a year and a half. You got what you need in one place to simplify the workflow and the process, all for free on my school community. Speaking of which, I'm really excited about a place where entrepreneurs and educational creatorpreneurs can network and benefit each other and learn from the mistakes and successes. It's hard to keep going in this journey alone. You need support. Which, by the way, I want to mention that this is one of the reasons that contributed to Mr. Beast's success. He had this group of friends who were obsessed about YouTube.
You in 2 years, might have learned from 20 mistakes, or if you have like 4 other people who are also messing up, and when they learn from the mistake, they teach you what they learn, stuff like that. Hypothetically, you 2 years down the road have learned like 5 times more of the amount of stuff.
But also you get to see behind the scenes of my production, like full scripts of my videos, from titles, research, and how the story is structured and formed, and literally compared to the final results you're watching on YouTube, which could give you an interesting perspective. We could have so much more, of course, and it's gonna be exciting. Can't wait to see you there. Click the link below to join my school community now. I honestly and genuinely, I admire Rian's smart. I think in this case, most entrepreneurs and people in general would be kind of too arrogant or scared to start a YouTube channel. And no, this is not just like posting on Instagram or a TikTok. This is literally about dedicating time and attention and energy and money into building a dedicated audience and a strong personal brand. And do you remember that crucial thing about Steven Kotler I haven't told you? Well, it's coming up. Surprisingly, they bootstrapped the company with no outside capital.
We bootstrapped the company with no outside capital.
How is that even possible, you might ask? Well, there are multiple factors, of course, like advertising and blah, blah, blah. But essentially, our guy Steven Kotler, as you might have picked up on, is an influencer. To be specific, an author and a writer. Literally, one of the main reasons the company was able to make profits and become is because the co-founder himself being a well-known influencer in this space.
We bootstrapped the company with no outside capital, which was hugely helped by Steven's brand, of course.
But hey, let's be real here for a second. Growing a YouTube channel requires more than just being an author. Like Steven's channel or the Flow Research channel itself isn't as successful as Steven's channel. So how did he grow so fast? The thing is that people like Iman, Andrew, or even Rian understand what's in demand and what people need, and simply created content that fills that gap, offering something unique that others aren't providing or are not doing in the most effective way. It's the reason why you could put lots of time and effort into creating a piece of content, then it doesn't get the results you want, and someone in another niche or space makes low production videos than you, but still manages to get more results than you. It's supply and demand. That's one of the main reasons. Also, I must open this side note real quick, because it's so important. We must acknowledge Rian's business experience, his understanding of focusing on what you're great at rather than just being mediocre at multiple things. And this also was possible by hiring someone who already has succeeded making productivity channel. Andrew Kirby, remember him? That's why I told you he was more special for Rian. No, not only that, he hired him, then he let Andrew hire the rest of the team. It's like from up to bottom, something they do in business. And it makes sense that Rian won't know the right people to hire as much as Andrew. It's a whole different industry. Now let's get into more serious stuff. Rian, they noticed that fitness YouTubers who use bro science, they were taken by actual legit scientific YouTubers. They noticed that lots of productivity YouTubers use bro science. So they had to double down on Rian being the flow expert rather than just a productivity expert. Essentially, they niche it down. Also, they greatly balance that sweet spot of making informative videos and also high quality videos, or let's say high production videos. Because don't tell me you have never watched those videos that are more focused on the filmmaking and the experience rather than just the knowledge. And at the end, you don't feel like you learned much. It's like, what did I learn in the video? It's like most of the time was wasted. So not only they had to make content that was high in demand but low supply, but also they had to ensure that the production quality was so high no one can compete with them. But wait for a second, why Rian's content is high in demand in the first place? I mean, talking about flow state, flow dojo, word compression, what else? Certainty? Like, although most of Rian's videos don't get millions of views, like people still watch them, still lots of views. But if you really imagine these topics, like the best thing you could imagine is a podcast or a TED talk that won't get much attention. We'll discuss Rian's storytelling and the art of baiting thumbnails, but what you need to understand for now is this. You have been in the productivity space for a while. You know, that time when productivity and self-improvement were the meta of YouTube, most likely you squandered through hundreds, if not thousands of videos. But then at a certain point, you don't feel like you're getting much value compared to the time you invest learning. It's like consuming a 2-hour-long podcast, then only to get 1 or 2, 3 things you can implement because you consume lots of his content. I mean, look, yeah, for productivity, deep work, time blocking, batching tasks, these techniques are super great. They can really change your life 180 degrees. But then pretty much there's nothing else to learn. Although there was kind of an oversupply. No, there was an oversupply. But you still had this innate hunger in you to learn more about productivity and get yourself to the next level. And that's when perfectly Rian came with the right opportunity at the right time with the right execution. Remember these 5 elements from my video about Mr. Beast? People already were consumed by productivity, so it's easier now to give them the advanced side of the equation. And I think if Rian came 2 or 3 years earlier, he won't have much impact. And speaking of impact, some of impact comes from storytelling. Rian for sure has knowledge, but does he necessarily have the right skills, knowledge to write an engaging YouTube video? Look, I don't know what their writing process looks like, but what I do know from Andrew Kirby is that the man has an A-player writer. Just a little note to show how much of an expert this guy is. When Steven Kotler in his newsletter said that he will let Rian speak, they literally copied the transcript from the videos as they are. And combining good writing with people's struggle, like you often face issues that Ali Abdal video won't solve you. So they could leverage these challenges strategically within the storytelling to captivate us with relatable situations.
Sometimes you just feel flat, a lack of drive, a lack of zest, of motivation, and it's really difficult to even begin a task in the first place.
Oof. You finally feel understood and realize that it's not about just putting in the work or blocking time or doing the work, especially when you don't feel like it. Instead, you discover the power of active recovery and that it's not just about working 24/7. In many of his videos, you can feel that sense of being understood and you get immersed in a world where your struggles are dissected with precision.
Lunch comes and goes, you tell yourself you'll start soon, but the afternoon finds you lost in distractions, chasing trivial tasks, while the important ones loom large and untouched. And the day ends, and the weight of what you didn't accomplish settles in. As you put your head on the pillow, you feel the sting of disappointment, having fallen short of the potential you know you're capable of one more day.
What's more interesting is that he shares his own stories, which makes you feel more connected and makes him more legit. This is the power of explaining the problem to the prospect better than they can explain themselves. You're fueled by being an expert. Remember my video about Herman Ghazi? But this time, it's also fueled by being an expert in something that not a lot of people know about. Nevertheless, Rian confirms to us in the first 30 seconds that, in fact, he is a legit expert using social proof.
I'm Rian Doris, co-founder and CEO of the Flow Research Collective, and along with my partner, Steven Kotler, we've taught thousands of professionals how to access flow states at will.
Besides him being somewhat young and relatable, no, he is young. As we've seen, he also leverages Steven's authority. Look, our brains have learned to associate expertise with older individuals, although it's not exclusively tied to age. I could reshape your perception by telling you that I started YouTube at a very young age, and without giving you much detail and how old I actually am, your perception would change. This is the power of using both social proof and authority to your advantage. Of course, in a positive way, please. But wait, let's be real here for a second. Most people don't enter YouTube to learn about flow state or whatever flow dojo. Maybe you're watching this video because you automatically picked up your phone and started scrolling. Maybe. Probably by this point you know this famous phrase by Mr. Beast. If they don't click, they don't watch, which is true, but let's pause for a second. How do you make people click? How do you capture their attention? Simply give them what they want, but then actually give them what they need. This isn't just tied to Rian's thumbnails. Let's pause for a second, zoom out of YouTube and give other examples. Imagine selling 15 million copies of a book in such short time. In 6 or 5 years, selling over 15 million copies, that's hard. Well, this is exactly Atomic Habits. And this book wasn't just about atomic habits, but James Clear purposely baited us by what we wanted that actually gave us what we needed.
It could have been a book about deliberate practice where I talk about habits, but instead, it was a book about habits where I talk about deliberate practice. And I think the difference in how those two books would sell is enormous.
Or, that book, what's his name? The Subtle Art of Not Caring. No, I won't say no. Oh boy, no. It's not about not caring. This is I know. It's not a book about not caring. Well, it is, but really, it's about caring about the stuff that we really need to care about. Because frankly, we care about too many things that don't deserve.
I mean, at the time, the conventional wisdom was that millennials actually weren't interested in self-help, that men weren't interested in self-help. But I had discovered over the course of multiple years blogging that this wasn't true. You just had to communicate with these new audiences in a different way.
In a similar sense, Rian's thumbnails are unique to the theme, I would say. They promise you to become more productive or becoming a top 1%, only for you to learn about flow state, the phases of it, or burnout and its phases, or reducing your work hours, making you more productive.
More triggers you have present in an activity at any one time, the faster you'll enter flow, the deeper the flow state will be, and the longer you'll be able to hold and sustain that flow state. Slippage feels like a shocking punch to the gut to find out the reality of how you spend your time and what you deem is important. The issue is that you lack a specific type of motivation in lives. It all comes down to the 4 pillars of flow state. First, there's the flow blockers. Second, flow proneness. Third, the flow triggers. And finally, and fourth, the flow cycle. These are the pillars that power the brain to the most productive.
First, we really need to know what made Rian Doris this flow state expert or leading to his company Flow Research Collective, because without this foundation, there would be no YouTube channel, no secrets to unveil or knowledge to share. And
with great power, there must also come great responsibility.
so while speedsters got struck by lightning and Spideys got bitten by a radioactive spider, Rian also
When I was 13,
got his own type of accident, but it's just not your average accident.
when I was 13, we found this semi-abandoned water park, went down this 100-foot sort of vertical slide, but the pool, it turned out, was only 3 foot deep. And so I just went headfirst into concrete.
It was not easy.
I remember the noise, actually. It felt like a bomb had gone off. I was still conscious, and I remember standing up, not knowing, who or where I was, and just hearing the reverberation, and then kind of vaguely opening my eyes and just seeing blood coming down over my eyes, and then my dad kind of pulling me in and consoling me and just saying,
Rian further down the line couldn't remember the name of his close friends and had mental health issues such as anxiety and depression.
depression and anxiety and just pretty severe existential crises and nihilism and things like that.
It's often through these accidents, it's like what made them change the trajectory, what made them take the necessary actions to become who they are.
And that pushed me into reading, self-development. I came across this guy, Mihai Csikszentmihalyi, and his research on flow state as this optimal state of consciousness. And I was enthralled by it because I was on the other end of the spectrum.
So Rian started becoming flow state expert journey started also.
I sort of sought out all the information I could find on flow and came across.
And then he worked for Stephen Kotler, an icon in this space.
Flow and came across Stephen Kotler, who worked for him for free for years, and then had the opportunity.
Then he pursued the academic path.
Back in Ireland, I was on the academic path, wanting to pursue a PhD in neuroscience, researching optimal states of consciousness.
But of course, we know that the academic path isn't the main reason he started a YouTube channel. It's his company, as we said. But for now, we need to know crucial shifting point that went on there.
And in my first few years on this path, I had enormous, insatiable drive. But as time went on, something began to shift. My drive started to wane wildly. Some days I was reasonably driven, but more commonly, the days started to feel like an endless grind. And I scratched my head, wondering what the hell was going on here.
It's fascinating us humans, like, although Rian's curiosity and purpose were very high.
On the academic path, my purpose felt really high. My curiosity was actually really high. It was all I could think about. I was gobbling up podcasts on the topics of peak states of consciousness. I couldn't stop reading about them and couldn't stop talking about this stuff to my friends.
His mastery.
Here I realized, wait a second, my mastery drive is low.
Autonomy.
And in academia, for me, autonomy was basically at zero.
And autotolicity.
I realized that even though I loved the topic I was studying, with my curiosity drive being high, and I found plenty of purpose in it with my purpose drive being high, the actual activities that I did day to day, hour to hour, I hated.
All of these 3 intrinsic motivators were dry and low. So, unlike most people, he decided to do something about it.
So I used this framework to identify a critical career shift for me, which was moving from academia to business.
And as you might guess, slowly but surely, Flow Research Collective was being formed.
And I remember actually Stephen called me up. I was in Ireland at the time, and he said, hey kid, I think he might have even said, this is one of those moments in your life where you get a layup, you get a fat pitch, you better nail this one. I co-founded a neuroscience-based research and training business with my partner Stephen Kotler, where my curiosity and purpose were still just as high, with the study of consciousness and flow state at the core of what we do. But past through.
I'm only running my half.
This video wasn't just about how Rian grew so fast on YouTube. Like, it's about raising your awareness about how important personal branding has become, especially on YouTube, and inspiring you and giving you a reason to create useful content. Speaking of reasons, what are Rian's intentions or purpose? No, besides organically marketing his company.
When purpose is present, you're willing to make sacrifices because the work is a cause you care about.
Well, it aligns with his purpose in Flow Research Collective. It's just that YouTube and social media gives him a much larger leverage to benefit people and accessing flow state and to make lives better.
You know, the broadest way to describe my vision or what I find compelling is improving the human experience from the inside out. On the academic path, my purpose felt really high. I was so passionate about what I was researching, knowing that if we could figure out more about consciousness itself, we could elevate the quality of the human experience for so many people on Earth.
This is it. It's not just about money. It extends beyond that. It's about what you influence people with. You always have a choice, even when we think we don't have a choice. It's like you have a choice now to attention is valuable and your time is valuable.